What's going on, guys? John Elder here from Codemy.com, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to do version control and web hosting for our Friends app with Ruby on Rails. All right, guys, like I said, in this video, we're going to look at version control and web hosting. But before we get started, if you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out Codemy.com, where I have dozens of courses with hundreds of videos that teach you to code. Use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off membership with all my courses, videos, and books for one-time fee of just $49, which is insanely cheap. Okay, I think we're going to call this app mostly done here. We've got all the things we want. In this video, I want to talk about version control and web hosting. So how do we get this thing up online and usable by people? And also, how do we keep track of our code, our version control? So that's what we're going to look at in this video. Now, version control, if you're not familiar, is a way to keep track of versions of your code as you're creating it. So if you mess up, you screw something up, you can roll it back to an earlier version where it worked and try again, right? It's just best practices when it comes to all coding. It's especially useful if you work with teams. So you could see, oh, Bob did this to the code and Mary did that to the code and you did this to the code, and it kind of merges all those things together and keeps track of who did what and all the good stuff. It's just what everybody uses. And normally we would set up version control at the beginning of a project, but we didn't, because I wanted to just get in there and start making our project. But we're going to talk about it now, and we're going to set it up. So there's two parts to version control. There's the version control itself, and we use Git for that, Git. And then there's a third-party hosting of that version control, and we use something called GitHub. Now, there's several different companies and websites you can use, but GitHub is the most popular one, github.com. It's great if you're trying to find a job. Your potential boss will look at your GitHub account and look at your code that you've written in the past to see, what kind of a coder you are, and it's just a good thing. So we're going to set all of that up in this video. In the second half of the video, if we get time, we're going to set up web hosting. We're going to use something called Heroku that has free web hosting, and they also have obviously paid tiers, but there's a free tier, and that's what we're going to use in this video. And we'll talk about all that later on in this video. So first things first, we need to set up Git version control, and let's just dig right into this. So head over to our terminal, and before, you might remember that it said master here. That's because I had version control set up earlier. I just didn't talk about it, right? So I've deleted that, and we're going to start from scratch now and set it up as if it was the first time. So you can see it does not say master up here anymore. Okay, so let's head over to our browser and head over to codemy.com/git, Git. And here's a list of the 5 commands you need to set up Git. Now we're using the Git bash terminal. So it comes with Git already. It's already in there. We just need to install it and initialize it, turn it on. So let's copy these one at a time. And the first 2 we have to modify a little bit. So let's copy this one, head over here and paste it, and then type in your name. So John Elder, end quotes. And now, like I said, Git keeps track of who makes changes to the code. So it needs to know your name, right? It also needs to know your email address for whatever reason. So we can come over here and copy the second line, paste this in, and then just type in your email address. Okay, and now the rest of the lines are just copy and paste, so we can just one at a time knock these guys out, paste. And I've been using this for 15, 20 years. I don't remember what these commands do or why we use them. I just remember that every time I need to enter these in when I set up my version control for the first time. All right, and then finally, the last one is git init. We are initializing Git, we're turning it on, right? So paste this in. Okay, so Git has been initialized. Now we see master. This refers to the master branch of our Git repository. So we've turned it on. Let's clear the screen here. Now we need to add all of our code to the repository. And we do that by typing git add period. And the period stands for everything. It's saying add everything in our project to our repository. And it just did. Okay, so clear the screen. We've added it. Now we need to save it or commit it, right? So it's git commit -am, and then give this a little message, because you'll see why these messages are important in a little bit, but they should be descriptive. Why are we committing our code? Well, we're committing it this time because it's the initial commit. It's the first one. So I'll type initial commit. Right? Later on, we might add a new gem. So I would type in added the bootstrap gem or added devised gem or whatever. Just a little descriptive thing that tells you why you're saving the code. So, okay. And it's saved all of those files again. So, okay, we've now successfully set up Git and saved all of our code to our local repository. Now we want to push that to a third-party website, because what happens if our house burns down, our office burns down, our computer explodes, right? What if there's a terrorist attack and somebody shoots our computer, right? We need our code to be somewhere else for safekeeping, and we're going to use github.com for that. Like I said, there's several websites that will do this. GitHub is by far the most popular one. I think Microsoft owns it. They bought it a couple of years ago, and it's completely free, so we're going to use that one. So to set it up, we need an SSH key, a secure SSH key, so that our terminal can communicate with GitHub. We're also going to need this later on for Heroku for web hosting so that they can connect securely. So to do that, we need to create an SSH key. So we need to make a directory, mkdir, and I want to put this in ~/.ssh. Now the ~/ means put this in our root directory of our computer. In my computer, that is C users codemy. That's my root directory. Whatever your root directory is, the ~/ we'll put it there, right? We want to call the directory .ssh. Now we're calling it .ssh because dot directories are hidden, and this is a secure key code we're creating. We want it to be hidden, so we use .ssh. All right, so that creates that. Now let's move into that directory and create our code, our key code. So let's go cd, change directory, and let's just go ~/.ssh. And you can see now we're in that directory, right? We can ls to see there's nothing in there right now, so okay. So now let's create our SSH key. So let's go ssh.keygen.exe. And so this is creating a public-private RSA key pair. Where do we want to save this? We want to save it in this directory, so hit enter. Now it's asking for a password. I never enter a password here. It's just superfluous. It's already a secure thing. We don't need a password on top of it. If you enter a password here, as you type, it won't appear on the screen. That's a security precaution, but it is being entered. And if you do enter a password, you have to remember that password forever. Anytime you connect to GitHub or Heroku or anything else, it's going to ask for that password. And it's just annoying. So I never use one. I'm going to just hit enter to leave it blank, hit enter again, and boom, our SSH key has been created. So we can now look ls, we can see there's these two files, id_rsa.pub and id_rsa. It's this .pub, it stands for public. That's the public key that we now want to give to GitHub. We want to give it to Heroku. We want to give it to anybody that needs to connect to us securely. And to do that, we need to put it on the screen and copy it. So we can use the catalog command, cat, and then we could just go id_rsa.pub. And here's our key. This is our SSH key. So let's highlight this whole thing. And now don't try and make sense of this. It's just a bunch of gobbledygook. There's nothing in here worth saying. It's just, this is our key. So we can right click and copy. And now we need to enter this into GitHub. So head over to github.com. If you don't already have an account, sign up for one. Let's see, mine is github.com/flatplanet. No, I do not think the world is flat. I just find it hilarious that some people do. So that's my username. If you want to follow me here, there should be a little button that pops up on your screen. It's not on my screen because I'm already logged in, but to follow me, I don't know what that means. Maybe you get notified if I push code or something. I'm not sure. But if you want to follow me, go ahead. That's cool. And this is GitHub. So the first thing we want to do is come over here to our little thing here and go to settings. And then we want SSH and GPG keys right here. Click on this and we want to add a new SSH key. And you could put a title, but you don't have to. And just come down here and right click and paste in that key we just copied from the terminal. And then add SSH key. And boom, that's it. You might have to enter your password if you haven't logged in a while, but otherwise it's now on there. So now our terminal and our GitHub can interact behind the scenes and we can push code from the terminal to GitHub securely. So let's set that up now. So let's go up here and click on repositories, your repositories. And every time you create a new project, you're going to create a new repository. And you can see I have just pages and pages of projects. So I've got lots of repositories. And like I said, these are unique for each new project. You don't just have one repository. You have a new repository, like I have 59 of them. You have a new one for every single project you ever create, right? So let's come over here and click new. And I'm going to call this Rails Friends. And that's available. Now, this can be a public or a private repository. I always keep them public, mostly because I'm a teacher and I want my students to be able to see my code if they want to. But even if I wasn't, I'd probably keep it public because who cares? Nobody is really going to steal your code. If you're working on some super secret startup, sure, keep it private, but otherwise keep it public. It's good to have a public face for people, especially if you're trying to find a job. Like I said, potential people that are going to interview you almost always want to see your GitHub account so that they can see the code you've created in the past. They can see what your experiences are, what your talents are. They can see how good you are or how bad you are. They can look through your code and see. And it's a nice thing to talk about during interviews. Oh, I saw this project on GitHub that you've worked on. Talk about it. And it, kind of gets things rolling. So I always just keep it public. So let's create repository. Now, this next page that pops up is popular or is important. We need to come down here because we need to now connect our terminal to our GitHub account and this repository specifically. So what we want to do is push an existing repository from the command line. That's exactly what we have. We just created an existing repository. It's on our command line, our terminal. We need to push it up here to GitHub. So to do that, we add these 3 commands to the terminal. So I'm just going to highlight each one and copy one at a time. Head back over to our terminal. And now we need to move back into our project directory. So let's go cd, and that was Rails friends, and then friends, I believe. Sure enough, we see the master branch has been turned on. We can clear the screen. And now let's paste in that first command, whatever that was. We don't really care. Just go ahead and do it. Now we'll do the second one. Copy this. Come back over here, right click, paste. Okie dokie. And then let's see. Finally, git push u origin main. Used to be master. Now they've changed it to main. I don't know why. Whatever. We do what they say. Okay, so it's found our key. Yes, we want to do that. And up. It's doing its stuff. It's pushed it up. And we should be good to go. Now we can come back here and hit reload. And you can see, boom, here's our code. Or you can go to your profile, your repositories. You'll see here's our Rails friends repository. And this is all of our code for our project. So if we look at the gem file, here's the gem file, right? If we come down here and look at the README file, here's our README file. And now notice here, it says initial commit. This is the little commit message that we typed in earlier when we saved our code. That's why this is important, because at a glance, you could just read these commit messages and see changes over time at a glance. So let's make a quick change to our app and save it and go through the process from here on into the future. Every time you want to make changes to your code, save it and push it up to GitHub, this is what you do. So let's change this README file. Let's head over to our code and let's close some of these out. Now come down here to our README file, and here's our README file. So here I'm going to change this to friends list app, right? And then I'm going to change all of this thing to hello, my name, probably spell my right, is John Elder, and I work at Codemy.com. This is my Ruby on Rails friends list app. Follow me at Codemy.com. Whatever. Let's go ahead and save this. So we've now made a change to our app, right? Not much of a change, but it's still a change. So let's head over to our terminal. What do we do from now on out whenever we want to make a change to our code and commit it and push it? Well, we do the same steps again. Git add period, add everything. Then we go git commit -am, and I'm going to say tweaked readme file, right? That's what we just did. And apparently we changed 3 files somehow. I'm not sure how that worked, but okay. And then finally, to push it from now on to GitHub, we just type git push. And it's doing its thing. And it's done. So now we can head back over to GitHub, come up here to our project and hit reload. And when we do, we see, oh, look, there's our new commit message, tweaked readme file. Here's our new readme file. If we click on it, we can see, hey, it says this. Follow me at Codemy. My name is John Elder, blah, blah, blah. It's been updated and it's done. Very cool. So that's all there is to Git version control and GitHub. Not too bad. So we're over 10 minutes, almost 15 minutes into this video. So now let's talk about web hosting real quick. So the web hosting company I'm going to use is Heroku. And they are a great company for hosting Ruby on Rails apps. It's all automated, does it all for us. And the big thing is they have a free tier. So if you go to pricing, you can see They have a free and a hobby tier. They have a production tier. The hobby tier used to be $7 a month. I'm not sure what it is now. Probably the same. Yeah, there it is, $7 a month. That's great. There used to be a little slider around here. Let me see if I can find it. I've changed this around recently. But Heroku works on something called dynos. And the more dynos you have, the more horsepower your website has. Meaning, as more people come to your website, it's going to get slower, right? You need more dynos, more horsepower. So you can jack up the dynos as your website gets more popular, as more people are viewing it at once. So that's great because you only have to pay as you need more dynos. You can start out with the free version while not many people are going to your website. As your website becomes more popular, you pop it up to the hobby version. Then maybe you switch it to the standard version. And then you start adding dynos. And let's see, I don't know where the slider went to. It looks like it's gone. But as you add a dyno, they started around $20 a month. And then you add another one and it's another $20 a month and another one and another one. And that's great for scaling your website as you need it and not having to pay until you need to pay, right? So that's really great. I like this company a lot. I use them specifically because of the free tier. It's great for learning and stuff. So that's what we're going to use. So to use this, we need something called the Heroku tool belt. So go to Google, type in Heroku tool belt. This will allow our terminal to connect with Heroku. So here is the website, and it is devcenter.heroku.com/articles/Heroku-CLI. And CLI stands for command line interface, I want to say. Yeah, Heroku command line interface. So scroll down here, and we need to download this for Windows, Mac, or Linux. We want the installer, so I'm going to click here, save this. I've already saved it, so yeah, override it, whatever. And then I'm in Firefox, so my downloads are up here. If you're in Chrome, they're going to be down in the bottom left-hand corner. Wherever your downloads go on your computer, find this file and click it. When you do, you get this installer thing. Make sure these are all clicked. We want to add this to path and do all the things. Click next, and then click install. Now, I've already installed this, so I'm not going to do it again, but you'll go ahead and click install. It'll do its thing, and then it'll disappear. So now, very important, you need to come back here and close this terminal and restart it, right? I've already installed it, so I don't have to do that, but you will have to do that because this won't work unless you restart your terminal. And now we can type in Heroku --version to make sure that it says some version. If you get an error, that means it wasn't installed correctly. Restart your terminal, reinstall it, do whatever you need to do, and come back and try this again. And when you do, it should say whatever version you're using. It'll be a different version than me because I've downloaded this years ago, so I'm sure this is an old version, but whatever version you have, as long as it says a version, then you've got it. So, okay, now we need to log in to Heroku. Now, if you don't have a Heroku account, go to Heroku.com, sign up for a free account. They used to ask for a credit card when you signed up. That's just to verify that you're human. They're not going to charge you for the free tier, but you're still going to have to enter a credit card. At least they used to. I don't know if they still do, but they probably do. So enter your credit card. Believe me, they're not going to charge you. They're a very solid, reputable company, unless you sign up for the hobby version or the standard version. If you specifically do that, then of course they're going to charge you. If you're just using the free tier, they will not charge you. Don't worry about it. So now we need to log in. So let's go Heroku login. Now it says press any key to open the browser. So I will press any key, hit enter, and it's opened the browser. We can log in here. Okay, so I'm now logged in. We can now close this thing if we want. We can close this one too. Head back over to our terminal, and it says it's logged in. I'm going to hit Control-C to break out of here because sometimes it gets stuck. Okay, so we're now logged in. Before we move forward, we need to talk about the gem file. Well, actually, we can create an app first. So let's go Heroku create. We need to create an app on Heroku. And it's creating an app for us, and here is our app. Right? So I can copy this, head back over here, open this up, and gentlethicket-28553.herokuapp.com. This is our new app. This is just the starter page. We haven't pushed our code up there yet. We will in a minute. Now this URL, we can change this to your own domain name. I'll talk about that in a minute. Or we can rename this to something else besides Gentle Thicket. So we could do that by going over here and just going Heroku rename. And let's call this Rails Friends. You'll have to name yours something else. Okay, that looks like that worked. So let me copy this. Head back over to our browser. And instead of gentle thicket, blah, 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 we can type in Rails friends and we get this same starter app. So, okay, now I've already taken Rails friends, so you can't take it. You'll have to take something else. Maybe try Rails friends 2 or Rails friends 78 or whatever. Or name it anything you want, it really doesn't matter. We can change this to our own domain name later, so this is all kind of irrelevant, but whatever. So, okay, we're almost ready to go. Now we need, well, before we do that, let's add our SSH keys. Remember, we added our SSH keys to GitHub. We need to do the same thing for Heroku, but luckily it's much easier. We don't have to copy and paste anything. All we have to do is type in Heroku keys : add. Would you like to upload it? Yes. Done. Hit Control-C to break out of here. Yep. All right, so we were good to go there. So now all we have to do is push our code up to Heroku, but there's a couple of more steps we need to talk about. So head back over to our code and let's look at our gem file. And you'll notice the database we've been using is SQLite 3. Now that is a great development level database, right? It's not a good production level database. It won't hold up over heavy use. And Heroku knows this, so they won't let you use SQLite 3. You have to use something called Postgres. Well, you don't have to, but Postgres is the one we recommend, right? Postgres is a popular database, so we need to convert this gem file into using Postgres. So I'm going to copy this and delete it. And I'm going to come down here to any of these things where it says group development, and I'm going to paste it in, right? So this says basically, hey, when we're working on our development project here on our own computer, go ahead and use SQLite 3, perfectly fine. But for production, we want to use something more powerful like Postgres. So we need to now add a new group. So let's go group : production, do, and then end. Inside of here, we can put our gem for Postgres. Now, production is what we call stuff on the internet. Development is what we call stuff on our own computer. So while we're working on it on our computer, that's development. When we push it up to the web with web hosting, that's production. So for production, we want to use Postgres. So we can, if we want, head over to rubygems.org. This is where all our gems are, right? We can type in PG. Postgres is the thing. You can see 122 million downloads. It's pretty popular. So we can copy this. Now, we can also go to Heroku, Ruby on Rails, PG. There used to be a little thing that they talked about here, getting started on Heroku. Add the PG gem, right? So it talks about why they won't allow SQLite 3, why you need PG, and sort of how to do that. You can click on this and why you can't use SQLite 3 and talk about it. So read all that if you're interested. Otherwise, we can just grab the latest version of Postgres. Let's see, so it's 1.2.3 it looks like. So we come down here and grab the gem file here, and let's paste this in. There we go. Now, back in the day, you also had to add a gem called Rails_12 factor, and then it was version 0.0.2 last I knew. I don't know if you still have to do that with this version of Rails because I haven't pushed anything to Heroku for a while. So we're going to comment this out. If we need it, we can put it back, but I don't think we're going to need it. We can just get away with this. So let's go ahead and save this. So now we need to bundle install our stuff here. So let's come over here and let's go bundle install, but we need to now type in -- without production. We want to install everything, but not the production stuff, because that is going to get installed up at Heroku, not on our local computer. So, but we did make a change to our gem file, so we need to bundle install that so that it takes that into account. So boom, hit enter. Okay, so now we've made a major change to our code. We need to save this to Git and GitHub before we push it up to Heroku. So let's go git add period. Let's go git commit -am added PG to production. Yeah, this works with the commit message. And then git push to push this up to GitHub. Okay, so now all there's left to do is push it up to Heroku. So the command is git push Heroku main. So This is our main branch right here. It says main. If it said master, we would type master here. And you'll notice to push it up to GitHub, the command is git push. To push it up to Heroku, it's git push Heroku main, or master if you're on the master branch. We're on the main branch, so that's what we push. Now this can take a minute, it can take 5 minutes, it can take 20 minutes. You're gonna get looks like warnings. It's very dramatic and very stressful. So this is always just fun to see. Is it gonna work the first time? You never really know. And a little crazy. So we'll sit back and wait for it to do its thing. And it's kind of stalled a little on devise. There's a lot to devise, so it's, you know, taking a while to install all those things. So hang in there. Okay. Looks like no errors so far. And it looks like we're getting some warnings. That's pretty normal. You can usually ignore those. And it's now compiling. Good sign. Again, we're getting some warnings. We don't really care. Compressing. And done. Looks like it's deployed. And boom, done. No errors, and we're good to go. Now, we're not quite done yet. We can see that by coming over here. And let's close some of these. Here's our old app, railsfriends.herokuapp.com. We hit reload. Boom, here's our app. It looks like it works. But if we try to, well, first I'll mention we have to sign up again. And anything that existed in our old database is no longer here up on the internet. That was in our SQLite database. That did not get pushed. So we're starting from scratch friends list wise. And we also have to now sign up again. And when we do, you can see we're going to get an error because we have to do some database work. Remember when we created our first database and have always done database stuff? It's always been a two-step process. We create a migration and then we push the migration. That's how databases work almost everywhere, and certainly with Rails. Well, we just created a new database, the Postgres database, but we didn't run those migrations. We didn't do any of that stuff. So we need to set that up before our database, our new database, will work, right? So it's the same steps we did earlier. We just need to do it for our Heroku database. So to do that, we type the command Heroku run Rails DB :migrate. So the migration already exists because we created it in our code. We need to now push that migration to Heroku. And the command we do is Heroku run Rails DB :migrate. So it's doing its thing. And it's doing this stuff. And it's blah, blah, blah. And it's doing all kinds of stuff. And okay, boom, now it's done. And you can come through here and kind of look at this stuff if you want, but we don't really care what any of this is. Now we can come back here and hit reload, and boom, now this works. So let's sign up. I'm going to create a new account. All right, so here we've got our friends list. We can add a new friend. Create it. It was successful. There it is. We can create another one. Sarah person, sarah@person.com, and @Sarah, her Twitter handle, I guess. And boom, it seems to work. If we click on here, it goes to the thing. We can edit, can update it. That was updated. Edit it again. Very cool. And it looks like it works. This all stuff works. And now you can see here, this is live, this is online, and it's good to go. So I mentioned I'd talk about domain names. I'm just going to talk about it very quickly because I'll tell you why. Let's go to Heroku.com, sign into your account. And when you do, you can find a list of all your apps here. Let's see, ours was, what do we call it? I've got so many apps. Okay, Rails Friends, there it is. Click on it. Now come over to settings and then scroll down and look for domains, add domain. So if you have a domain name you've already purchased, you can type it here and click next and that will add it, right? Now you need to point your registrar to your Heroku app. And I can't tell you how to do that because there are thousands of registrars and they all do it differently. So I use something called Namecheap. What I would do is I would go Namecheap Heroku domain. Just do a Google search. Chances are your registrar will have a tutorial on this. And right here, the very first thing, pointing a domain name to the Heroku app from Namecheap. And you can just click on this and read through here and do all these things. So basically, you're gonna log into your Namecheap account, click on domain list, click on the domain you want to point towards your Heroku app, click manage, add a new record, add that record as a CNAME, www. And this is going to be, in our example, it would be railsfriends.herokuapp.com. That would go right here. And then we would save it and good to go. If you're going to use an SSL certificate to make it secure, you can read through here and do these things. And that's all there is to it. If you use GoDaddy, do the same thing. Type GoDaddy Heroku domain, get a little tutorial that shows you how to do it. So that will then point your domain to your new Heroku app and you're good to go. So that's as easy as it is to push your code up to Heroku. Now, in the future, if you make a change to your code and you want to make that change reflected at Heroku, go through the same process. Git add period, git commit AM, give your little commit message, and then git push to push it to GitHub, and then git push Heroku main to push it all back up to Heroku again. If you make a change to your database, you have to migrate it again every time at Heroku like we just did. And that's all there is to it. So I think we're going to call this done. This is a really fun little app, very easy. And I hope this showed you just how powerful Ruby on Rails really is and all the things you can do with it. If you enjoyed this, head over to my website, codemy.com. I've got a ton of Ruby on Rails courses here. And you can see here, we create a cryptocurrency portfolio app with Rails. This is a to-do list app with Rails. That's a fun one. A cryptocurrency news website with Rails. That's just how to install Rails. So we've got a bunch of really cool ones. Build a weather app with Rails. Create a clone of the website Pinterest with Rails. This one would create a stock market app with Rails. Here, we've also got just a basic course in Ruby if you're interested in the programming language that underpins, I guess, all of Rails. Check that out. Total membership is usually $79. That gives you access to all my courses, plus all my future courses. I've written several #1 best-selling Rails and Ruby books. You get the PDF versions of those for free as total membership. If you sign up here and use coupon code YouTube1, it'll knock like $30 off. You get total access, total membership for just $49. You can ask questions about the videos underneath each video, and I'm around to answer questions. And it's a lot of fun. We got over 100,000 members, students, whatever you want to call yourselves. And it's a really fun little community. And at the moment, I have 47 courses in all these different things. You can learn, you can read all about what courses I offer. Like I said, I try and add a new course every month or so. Sometimes when I'm really on it, I get 2 courses added in a month. Sometimes it's 1 course every couple of months. Just depends on what I'm doing, at the moment. But I try and get a good course a month added. Sometimes they're on Rails, sometimes they're on Python, Django, Kinter, all the different things that I like to teach. And check it out. So I hope you enjoyed this YouTube sort of tutorial on basic Ruby on Rails. Rails isn't as popular as some other programming languages like Django or Node, but it is still incredibly powerful and used by some of the main websites in the world. So still highly relevant in today's coding world and just a lot of fun to use. I think you've hopefully seen in the course of these last few videos just how fun and how quick and easy it is to build really powerful things with Rails. And it's just really cool. So that's all for this video, and that's all for this course. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, like I said, check out codemy.com. You can also check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/codemy.com, or just search codemy.com at YouTube. Tons of videos there as well. And it's a lot of fun. So my name is John Elder, and thanks for watching.